So you saw last year what happened after the Mercury added Skylar and Bria. How do you feel like you're going to fit in with them, and just kind of just your general thoughts about coming here?
Well, I'm extremely excited to be a part of the Mercury team and the family, and to play in front of the X Factor. And I've played against them, so I've felt their energy on the other side. So I'm glad to be on the other side of it now. But obviously, I love the way that Phoenix plays. I love their up tempo. I think they have a incredible inside-out game. So for me, I'm just want to go in there and do my role, whatever the team needs that to be, whether that be a spot-up shooter, an offensive threat that people have to guard, and then on the defensive end, be a defensive presence to guard anybody on the perimeter.
And you talked about the inside out of it part. What do you see too when you think about playing on a team with Brittany as well?
Well, I think it's phenomenal. Anytime you have a player of her caliber and her size and her skill, for a guard, you have to love that, because you know that teams are going to have to really collapse onto that paint. And then as a shooter, you can't be any happier with having the ability to go inside out. So I'm really excited. I think she makes great decisions in the paint, whether it's her going to score or finding her teammates. So I'm excited to be a part of that.
All right, next up, we'll go over to Danny Thompson with the three-point conversion. He'll be followed by Raymond Lyon.
Kia, Danny Thompson with a three-point conversion. Welcome to Phoenix, by the way. For those who've never watched you play, I'm pretty sure maybe one or two people, what should the Phoenix fans should expect from you if they've never seen you play before?
Well, thank you for the welcome. You could expect someone who's a big competitor. I go out there and I'll play my butt off every single possession. It's defense and offense, both ends of the floor. I think I can shoot it. I'm pretty sure I can. I've got the confidence to do it. I like to get to the rim and visit the free throw line a couple of times as well. But just my compete level, I think, is going to be the big thing that stands out in effort and hustle plays.
Now, also at the same time, you come from an athletic family. Your dad played in the CFL. Your brother plays in the NHL. Your sister played college basketball. You have a cousin, I think, that plays professional hockey. And your uncle is Donovan McNabb. Out of all the members of your family, who's the best athlete in the family?
Oh, absolutely me. You have to bet on yourself all times at any level. And I will still tell them that to this day. But I think we all are pretty good in our own right. And it's cool to have people that, obviously, in the situation like when I get traded, someone's already been through that before. Just call them, ask them how they dealt with it. And if you have any questions, you just throw them their way.
All right, next up, we'll go to Raymond Lyon. He'll be followed by Paul Richardson.
Hey, Kia, it's Raymond Lyons from Made from the W. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. First question, what was the favorite PE you wore last year in the bubble, and what can we look forward to seeing this year in Phoenix?
Hard to pick one PE. I really enjoyed my giraffe ones, obviously, because they represented my siblings and I and our stories. But obviously with Phoenix, we got a brand new set of colorways coming in with the purple and the orange. So I'm excited about that. And I had recently a nephew born during the COVID, and we have another nephew coming in 4 months. So there's a new shoe dedicated to them, and I'm really excited about that.
Okay, awesome. And also, how does it feel to be able to play with another UConn great now in Diana Taurasi?
I'm extremely excited to play alongside DT. Obviously, I've looked up to her and watched her play. She's the GOAT for a reason. And I'm excited to really learn. I think there's a lot of intricacies of the game that you can only get from the experience and being who she is, both on and off the court. So I think there's a lot that I can learn there as well. So I'm pumped for that.
All right, next we'll go to Paul Richardson with the Sports Cave, and then kick it over to Erica.
Hey, Kia, welcome. Hopefully you like the heat, because it's gonna get hot. But you're coming to a team that has a good foundation. A lot of expectations came with them last year with the moves that were made. And now you're coming in, and as Diana said, this team doesn't start over. It just rebuilds for a championship. How do you expect to handle, as a team, you first, and then as a team, to handle the expectations? Because they're going to be high for this team to not just compete well, but win a title.
Absolutely. I think in terms of expectations, you are going to have to deal with the expectations that you not only put on yourself, but that come in from the outside. And one of the things I learned at UConn is when expectations are there, the outside ones don't really matter. It's what you expect from your team and expect from yourself on a given night. So I'm excited to jump in and be a part of a team that already has such a great foundation, playing alongside some really incredible players who obviously have made their own way in their own right. And for me, I think you're just going to continue to go in there and play hard every single game, understanding and going into every game with the confidence that we can put our foot down and put it on the gas and win games.
And just to follow up with that, we all know Diana talks a little trash every now and then. Are you a trash talker, or do you just kind of go with the flow?
I'm in between that. Sometimes I like to talk trash with my game. I know some people don't necessarily like how I get to the free throw line sometimes, so I kind of just make my free throws, and that's my trash talk.
All right, now we'll go over to Erica, followed by Jeff.
Hey, Kia. Erica representing Locked On Women's Basketball today. I wanted to ask you a little bit about coming off of the Wubble season. You talked to us a lot in New York media about really just focusing mentally, and I think that really showed in how you presented, certainly with us and on the court. But it was a difficult season on so many levels. So what are some things that you are excited to get a restart with a fresh team, a fresh perspective? And then also, I'd love if you could talk about your fellow countrywoman, Aaliyah Edwards and UConn, and particularly thinking about that Monday game against South Carolina.
Yeah, so obviously Aaliyah has been doing an incredible job. We've been talking a lot about her on SportsCenter here in Canada. I think she's, as a freshman, coming in there and doing what she can, and with the minutes that she does, she makes an impact every single time she gets on the floor. And her physicality is something that UConn has needed for a long time. And in terms of just the Wubble season is over. Thank goodness. I think obviously there was a lot going on in there, and I dealt with a lot of injury stuff. So the best part about it right now is I've got 2 feet that work perfectly fine now. I've had a ton of time to rehab and a ton of time to get back in the gym. And not being overseas this year and doing the broadcast stuff has allowed me to reset from basketball as a whole, be around my family, but also learn the game from a different point of view, a different eye in watching the NBA games and then breaking them down. So that's been really fun. It's been a fun part of it. I think with a new team and a new clean slate, anything is possible. And for me, like I said, I'm really excited to go in there and learn, to play with great players who are super competitive, who are ready to win. And I'm happy for that.
All right, we'll go over to Jeff now, and then followed by Gina Mizell.
Thanks so much, Kia. We'll miss you in New York. Jeff Magliacetti with Empire Sports Media, Winsider, and Nets Republic. So my question is, what's the biggest lesson you're going to take away from your time in New York, where you had so many positives, so many firsts in your professional career?
Oh, there's lots of lessons. I think just in terms of really settling into like the professional lifestyle, that's where it all started, right? With New York, and obviously the accountability side of things after you get out of college, and how you become a professional, how you're working on and off the court, what you're doing when no one's watching. So I'll take all that with me and continue to work hard to get better at the little things. But I think just in the last season itself, there was lots of ups and there was lots of downs. And there was certain ways that I probably could have handled some situations better than others, but I want to take the lessons that I learned from the things that I was good at, the things that I was improving on, and then continue to build those throughout my game.
Thanks, Kia. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go over to Gina Mizell with Mercury.com, followed by Haley Mcgoldrick.
Hey, Kia, welcome to Phoenix. You mentioned the luxury of being in a family with so many prominent professional athletes, and that you can call someone when this happens and you get traded and they can give you advice. So I'm just curious, who did give you the best advice on kind of just how to handle just changing teams, changing cities eventually, just all of the stuff that goes along with being traded?
Yeah, my brother was the first one to call me on FaceTime, probably when I didn't need him to call me. So I was doing a bunch of text messages, but he called anyways. And so he was the first one to kind of just say, look, this is a good situation for you. You're happy. I know obviously it's a little bit bittersweet the moment it happens, because I obviously made tons of relationships and friendships in New York. But I'm super excited. Obviously, my Uncle Donovan actually lives in Phoenix. So to be around him and his family that we don't get to see that often is going to be really fun too. And that's just another voice and person that I can go to, literally just drive down the street and see him and have a conversation. So that was really just it, is, you've been through change before, you've been through different situations, you go to different places overseas, and you've handled it really well. This is just a new one, and it's a great brand new opportunity for you to do whatever you want with it.
And you mentioned getting a chance to do some broadcasting and breaking down NBA games. Just, yeah, when you're watching games from a different perspective, what are the biggest things that you've picked up that maybe you could even apply to your own game this season?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the player that I'm watching. Obviously, I broadcast pretty much majority Raptors games, but I did a lot of work with the NBA playoffs last year as well in the bubble season. So certain players, like I love the way Jason Tatum plays, the way he creates space. So that's things that I've tried to add into my game a little bit here and there. And then I'm starting to pick up a lot on defensive coverages and just watching the film of who's guarding where and what certain bigs are going to do. So hopefully moving forward, obviously we're going to watch a ton of film in Phoenix, and as teams continue to develop, just being able to say, look, if this player is coming out on a screen, I know she's probably going to hedge. So my read is this, this, and this. Just picking up those little things so that I can see the game from a different perspective by the time I get on the court.
All right, we'll go over to Haley Mcgoldrick now, and then she'll be followed by Sarah Valenzuela.
Hi, Kia. So I remember you saying at the end of last season that bubble life absolutely was not for you. And so what are some lessons that you took from the last season that you can take with you from New York moving to Phoenix?
Yeah, bubble season was hard. Obviously, there was a lot of things that I think I did really well towards the end of the season, just overall looking at it and watching the film. Once I was out of that situation, there was a lot of good things on the court that I think were improvements in terms of my ability to move the ball, and my assist rates went up. And so that was different for me. So I've continued to work on that and continued to add that to my game. And then just the mental side, obviously it wasn't an ideal situation to be in the bubble. I think it would have been different had I not been injured in the first 8 minutes of the season. But I think there's also just the ability to sit in the room and understand, look, this is what went well, this is what went wrong. The mental side is I went into a lot of, meditation and reading and whatnot, things that can help take me away from the game. So I'm not overthinking about it. I'll take that stuff with me for sure, because any given night you can have a bad day. But I think the cool part about the WNBA is that there's probably not many days in between for you to kind of sit in it and wallow, because there's a next game and a next opportunity to get better.
All right, we'll go over to Sarah Valenzuela, followed by Jeff Metcalf.
Hey, Kia. Sarah Valenzuela from the New York Daily News. Congratulations, but also we're going to miss you in New York. As far as all of this happening so fast, what would you say would be the biggest takeaway from New York, and who or what will you miss the most?
Just in terms of biggest takeaway, this is a part of the business, right? At any time, you could get moved around. So just putting my best foot forward every single night. Obviously, in the bubble season, tried to go out there and compete every night and make sure no matter what the outcome of the game was, that we played our butt off every 5 seconds. And that was important for me. And then obviously I'm gonna miss Kia Stokes. I don't want her head to get blown up about it, but I will miss her. And my other teammates as well. And the coaching staff and the organization, they gave me an opportunity to play in the WNBA. So I'm forever grateful for that. But I'll also miss the food, specifically Tao and Lavo. Those are my joints.
I will go over to Jeff Metcalf with Arizona Republic, followed by Eric Wilson. Oh, Jeff, I think you're still muted.
Jim Pittman and Sania Bardello both sort of indicated that you were their priority in this free agency period. How does it feel for them to, place a priority on acquiring you? And then if you could just talk a little bit too about Megan Walker and then your role with the Canadian Olympic team.
Obviously, being said that I was a top priority is humbling. I'm extremely grateful that they value my game and what I've done so far in the 3 years in this league, hoping that I can live up to those expectations and then a little bit more. In terms of Megan Walker, I'm excited that she's coming along. Obviously, we've had a little bit of a journey together now, from UConn to New York and now to Phoenix. But I think she obviously struggled a little bit in the bubble last year, but she didn't really have a fair chance at it because obviously she had COVID and was late into the bubble. But I think she's got a great new experience that she's had overseas. Her game is really solid. It's really fluid. She can shoot the ball extremely well. She makes pretty good reads. So I'm excited. I think this is a really good opportunity for her as well. And in terms of Canada basketball, we've obviously qualified for the upcoming Olympics in Tokyo. So that's a big part of my game and who I am and where I've come from. I've been on that team for about 8 years now, aging myself, but very excited to be a part of that. We haven't been able to really get together because of COVID, so I've been doing a lot of stuff virtually, but looking forward to making some noise in the Olympics too.
All right, we go over to Eric Wilson now, followed by John.
Hey, Kia, thank you so much for doing this. I just had a quick question I wanted to ask you. We've seen a lot of change happening in the WNBA from the Wubble to now, with ladies going to different teams and kind of taking that ownership with who they want to be as far as personal branding. Is this a sign of, just the evolution of women's sports?
I think it is. Obviously, there's a lot of different ways that you can do it. So for me personally, I built a team. My marketers and my branding people are all basically here in Canada. I do a lot of my outside marketing endorsement deals in Canada. And I think everybody has now figured out that there is a market for women's sports. There's a market for female athletes, and people want to see them. People want to see them being endorsed. So people are definitely taking a lot more understanding of that and understanding of their brands and how they can make them better, because the bigger each and every individual player's brand is, the more people know about us, the more fans that we're going to bring into the WNBA, the more interest that we are going to garner. So it's only good from there.
And just a quick follow-up, as media, since we do highlight you ladies, what is the one thing you ask of us when it comes to promoting the WNBA and just kind of bringing the season to even a higher level? Because last year your numbers went up, from viewership.
It's to continue to keep your foot on the gas. I think obviously last year was a significant year for us, and that's always great, but we also were always on TV, and it was COVID and the world was kind of stopped. So now as the world starts to get itself going again and people are back at work and there's a lot more movement, it's continuing to get those numbers to rise and continuing to get people and fans in the seats, people from different countries and different nations. I know Canada will be watching a ton of Phoenix games now, whether they like it or not, it'll be on TV here. So I think that's something that you have to just keep doing, is keep putting your foot on the gas. 1 year of increase wasn't enough. We got to keep it moving.
All right, we'll go 4 final questions with the 4 hands up. First, John, followed by Danny Thompson.
Hi, Kia. First of all, very early, but happy birthday and
Thank
welcome
you.
to Phoenix. Just a quick question. Did you have any idea that the trade was coming? And what was your first thought when you got the news of the trade?
I don't think I had a solid idea that it was coming. I'm pretty intuitive, so I caught up on a couple clues here and there, but it wasn't solid until I kind of got that, that phone call. And so my initial reaction was, this is a part of the business. I had a feeling something was coming. Where, what, when, who? No idea. But very excited. Phoenix is a place that I was extremely excited to come to. It's a really incredible situation, an incredible organization. Like I said, I have family out there. So any place that I can get a nice weather, great teammates, and a great organization, I cannot complain about.
Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, next up is Danny Thompson, then we'll go over to Jeff.
Kia, Danny Thompson, once again, the 3-point conversion. You mentioned teammates. After the trade, has any of the ladies reached out to you, told you good places to eat, or give you anything about what you're coming into Phoenix?
Yeah, I have gotten a couple text messages from a number of different teammates, and they all mentioned food and good places to eat. So I was glad about that because I'm a foodie. And then obviously I was able to talk to Bria too. So it's good to be reunited with her and Bryson. He's going to really understand who Auntie Kiki is now. So very excited about that.
Thanks, Kia.
All right, our final 2 will go over to Jeff, followed by Erica.
Thank you. Kia, I think one term that we're not going to forget in New York anytime soon is baby vet. What is one thing you're going to take from that experience and play it into your future endeavors?
Well, I got to play a little bit of a leadership role. Baby vet was the baby part I think sometimes people forgot about, but I was a baby vet. And obviously I play more of a veteran role on my national team. So that's something that will get translated right away in terms of Team Canada and the Olympics this year. But the cool part about going to a team like Phoenix that has such incredible vets already is that I don't necessarily have to be a baby vet, but I get to learn. And the better that I get, the better leader I become is because of the leaders that I've had before me, right? And the more I get to learn about how people deal with leadership, the communication skills, because every leader is very different, But I'm really excited to be on a team that's full of vets because I get to continue to learn and I get to continue to figure out what are good ways to be a leader and what are some ways that some people might not really understand.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
All right, we'll kick it back over to Erica for one last question.
All right, thanks much. Kia, I believe it was Eric that asked you a little bit about free agency, kind of how the media is portraying the WNBA or can do a better job. But I wonder internally, you saw a free agency period. Obviously, you're not a free agent. This wasn't a situation, but you were certainly impacted by free agency. But as you're looking at those moves and how the CBA went from paper to reality, what are some things that stand out to you about the internal process under the new collective bargaining agreement?
Well, obviously, I think you just have to have this feeling and this sense and understanding that at the end of the day, this is a business. So movement is going to happen. It's inevitable if you're a part of it. As long as you're going to a really good situation, like myself, I think it's a good thing, right? So I honestly think that just in terms of, for me, watching all the movement in the league, it's great because it's creating more attention outside of the league and teams are getting better, right? And the better that the teams are and the better that the talent is in the league, the more that people want to watch it. You see that on the men's side too. Who are people watching? Specific teams as opposed to others, right? So I'm, as a player, excited that this is how it is and that there is so much movement and there's so much excitement around it and people got their gifts going and their tweets going early. It's nerve-wracking as a player when you see your name thrown out there on Twitter and you're like, I knew nothing about this. But it's exciting for sure.
Well, thanks a lot, Kia, and best of luck.
Thank you.
All right, Kia, thanks for the time and thanks to everyone for joining.